1970. A single book hits the shelves in America, and within months, the most powerful intelligence agency in the world is scrambling to launch one of the most bizarre programs in military history. The book's title, Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. Its contents would spark what one journalist called the race for inner space. Deep inside CIA headquarters, analysts are studying reports that the Soviet Union is spending 60 million rubles annually on something called psychotronic research. The implications are staggering. If the Soviets have discovered how to weaponize the human mind, America is already losing a war it doesn't even know it's fighting. Within 2 years, a classified program begins at Stanford Research Institute in California. The mission: determine if the human mind can transcend the laws of physics to gather intelligence from impossible distances. They call it remote viewing. And for the next 23 years, the CIA will pour millions of dollars into training psychic spies who claim they can see through walls, across continents, and behind enemy lines using nothing but their minds. This isn't science fiction. This is Project Stargate. The program starts with Russell Targ and Harold Putoff, two researchers who believe they can prove that human consciousness operates beyond the boundaries of space and time. Their first major test subject is Pat Price, a former police officer from Burbank who claims he can describe locations he's never seen using only geographic coordinates. The CIA decides to put Price to the ultimate test. They hand him a set of numbers: degrees, minutes, and seconds. Nothing else. The coordinates point to a facility deep inside the Soviet Union, codenamed Peanuts. It's one of their most closely guarded secrets, and American intelligence desperately needs to know what's happening there. Price closes his eyes and begins to describe what he sees. I am lying on my back on the roof of a 2- or 3-story brick building. He sketches cranes and gantries with remarkable precision. Then he goes deeper, describing the interior of the facility. Workers are assembling something massive, a metal sphere, 60 feet in diameter, constructed from thick metal sections shaped like orange peels. The CIA analysts reviewing Price's session are stunned. The details match their classified satellite photographs with uncanny accuracy. 3 years later, Aviation Week magazine will reveal that the Soviets were indeed constructing a 58-foot diameter sphere at Semipalatinsk, designed to capture and store energy from nuclear explosives. Price had somehow peered inside one of the Soviet Union's most secret atomic bomb laboratories, using nothing but his mind. A former CIA official would later say about Price's remote viewing sessions: he was extraordinarily accurate, unbelievably accurate. But Price is just the beginning. As the program expands, the CIA recruits a diverse team of individuals with claimed psychic abilities. Among them is Joseph McMonigal, an Army veteran who becomes known as Remote Viewer Number 1. Over 6 years, McMonigal will participate in over 450 missions, from locating hostages in Iran to identifying hidden weapons caches around the globe. The scope of these operations is breathtaking. When the Iranian hostage crisis grips America in 1979, McMonigal is tasked with finding the captives. When a suspected KGB agent is captured in South Africa, the CIA places an envelope on McMonigal's desk. Without any background information, he correctly identifies that the spy uses a pocket calculator to communicate. That calculator turns out to be a disguised shortwave radio. McMonigal claims to have predicted where Skylab would crash 11 months before it happened. He describes the exact apartment where Brigadier General James Dozier was held hostage by Italian terrorists, providing details that arrive in Italy on the very day Dozier is rescued. Just about every agency in America that had an intelligence function wound up giving us targets, McMonigal would later explain. The program operates under multiple code names throughout its existence: Scanate, Gondola Wish, Grill Flame, Center Lane, Sunstreak. Finally, in 1991, it consolidates under one name: Stargate. For over 2 decades, these psychic spies work in the shadows, their existence known to only a handful of officials at the highest levels of government. They track Soviet submarines, locate missing missiles, and peer into the minds of America's enemies. The minimum accuracy rate required by their CIA handlers is 65%. According to program leaders, this threshold is routinely exceeded. But as the Cold War winds down, questions begin to emerge about the program's true effectiveness. The doubts start quietly, whispered in Pentagon corridors and CIA briefing rooms. For every spectacular success, like Price's Soviet facility breakthrough, there are dozens of sessions that produce nothing but vague impressions and contradictory details. Remote viewers describe buildings that don't exist, weapons that are never found, and hostages in locations that turn out to be empty. The program's handlers learn to work around these inconsistencies. They develop elaborate scoring systems, passing through pages of session transcripts to extract fragments that might contain actionable intelligence. A viewer might describe a red building when the target is blue, but if they correctly identify its location near water, that detail gets marked as a hit. Critics within the intelligence community grow bolder. They point to confirmation bias, suggesting that analysts are cherry-picking successful elements while ignoring the failures. Some question whether the viewers are unconsciously picking up on subtle cues from their handlers, or whether they're simply making educated guesses based on their knowledge of world events. But the believers remain convinced. Dr. Edwin May, who takes over the program's scientific oversight, argues that even a modest improvement in intelligence gathering could justify the costs. In a world where a single piece of information might prevent a terrorist attack or locate a nuclear weapon, he reasons, any edge is worth pursuing. The remote viewers themselves develop their own theories about why the phenomenon works inconsistently. They speak of psychic noise, emotional interference, and the difficulty of maintaining focus across vast distances. Some claim that traumatic or emotionally charged targets are easier to access, while mundane locations remain stubbornly invisible to their mental probing. McMonigal describes the experience as trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle while blindfolded, with most of the pieces missing. The information comes in fragments, impressions, and sudden flashes of insight that feel more like memories than observations. Colors, textures, sounds, and emotions blend together in ways that challenge conventional understanding of human perception. Training. New remote viewers becomes an art form unto itself. Candidates are taught to quiet their analytical minds, to trust first impressions over logical reasoning. They practice with feedback sessions, gradually building confidence in their ability to describe distant locations. The most successful viewers develop personal techniques for accessing what they call the collective unconscious, a shared pool of information that transcends individual awareness. The program adapts to changing global threats as the decades pass. During the Gulf War, remote viewers are tasked with locating Scud missile launchers hidden in the Iraqi desert. They describe underground bunkers, camouflaged equipment, and the movement patterns of enemy forces. Military commanders, desperate for any intelligence advantage, find themselves relying on reports generated by people they've never met, using methods they don't understand. By 1995, the Cold War's end brings new scrutiny to America's most unusual intelligence operation. The CIA commissions an independent review by the American Institutes for Research, hoping to finally settle the debate over remote viewing's legitimacy. Their conclusion is devastating. The program, they determine, has never produced actionable intelligence that couldn't have been obtained through conventional means. The report acknowledges some intriguing results, but dismisses them as statistical anomalies. Any accurate information, investigators argue, was too vague and ambiguous to influence real-world decisions. After 23 years and millions of dollars, Project Stargate is quietly terminated. The psychic spies scatter back to civilian life, their extraordinary claims forever entangled with classified documents and sworn testimonies. Pat Price dies in 1975, taking his secrets to the grave. McMonigal continues to practice remote viewing, training others in techniques he insists saved American lives. But questions linger in the shadows of declassified files. If remote viewing was truly worthless, why did the program survive for over 2 decades? Why did hardened intelligence professionals, trained to evaluate sources with ruthless skepticism, continue funding research into the paranormal? And why do some former officials, even today, hint at successes that remain classified? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between the believers and the skeptics. In a world where intelligence agencies explore every possible advantage, from truth serums to mind control experiments, Project Stargate represents something uniquely human, the desperate hope that consciousness itself might be humanity's ultimate weapon. Whether that hope was justified or merely an expensive delusion, only the files that remain classified can truly reveal.